Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aegis Guardians League Week 5 casted matchup. My name is Moose, and I am joined by Niarco. Niarco, how you doing today, sir?
I'm feeling fantastic. Really excited to get down into the nitty gritty with this draft. We have a ton to talk about this week.
Definitely a ton to talk about. It's week 5. We got to talk about, now we're at halfway point here in the regular season. If you guys are really enjoying the content, you guys are really enjoying what we're seeing here in the regular season, it is starting to wind down, and we are starting to get down to the wire here today, and just in the league in general. Yeah, more than halfway. We've got, what, 3 more weeks left of regular season? So all of these games are going to be very important, and this game in particular is going to be very important for the two teams that are going to be matched up today in our featured cast. Tufts, Sapphire, and Glacial Omen are both currently 0-4 on the bracket, on the Piltover division, and they need to get themselves a win today to keep their chances of having a chance to get into the second round, the play-ins, in order to make that happen, Yarko.
Yeah, both sides definitely trying to vie for continued viability in the Aegis Guardians League here. We want to see them push through, get that first win on the board, and eventually get to those play-ins and playoffs. So, with that in mind, looking at the way that games have been going so far, there's definitely going to be a lot of action. Every single game that both Tufts Sapphire and Glacial Omen have ended up in have oftentimes led to pretty high KDAs across the board, big gold gaps, but hopefully in the games that we see today, that action will be translated more towards both sides being able to kind of keep it close and keep things dramatic for all of us watching at home.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Tough Sapphire, Tough Sapphire. I had the privilege of being able to cast their Oasis Dream matchup in week 2. I did a solo cast with them. You can check that out on my YouTube channel. But I was able to cast that 3 game series. Tough Sapphire coming in, being able to take a win, and I was talking to their staff, their captain, a little while ago, and they're saying, hey, this is the first time that they, as a team, have actually come together and have started to play League of Legends as a group. This is the first time that they've actually played in a competitive setting like the Aegis Guardians League. So it's really impactful, and it's really nice to be able to get those wins. And that's what Aegis Guardian League is all about. It is a gold to low platinum level division league with the opportunity for players to be able to go up against similar level players and learn, develop themselves, and get the chance to be able to get these games casted on that like semi-professional arena like we've got here. So it's definitely a ton of fun. I know the players really do appreciate the opportunity that Aegis has been able to provide, and of course, if you guys are enjoying what Aegis is bringing to the table, feel free to follow them on the Twitch channel or even on their Twitters to get more access to their content. Niarco, I hear you're also casting the Protectors League on Mondays, right?
Yeah, the Aegis Defenders League has really been popping off, and notably, there's several different teams that Glacial Globals, who are kind of the parent team for the Glacial Omen group in this series, who have been performing pretty darn well in some of these other leagues. So it would be great to see for them to kind of also start to pencil in wins here within Aegis Esports, get their name on the board alongside their compatriots, and really show what the organization is about. Tough Sapphire also really hungry for their first win. They sit slightly above Glacial Omen in the standings right now, given the fact that they managed to get one of those round wins, as you were talking about, Moose, against Oasis Dream. And so they really want to kind of go up a clean 2-0 here, really establish themselves on the board, because that early victory from earlier on in the season will kind of help them establish a little bit of momentum and keep their playoff hopes just the slightest more bit alive. Glacial Omen has been shuffling around their roster a lot recently, and so as they start to turn up here into the client for draft to begin, it'll be interesting to see what formation they actually decide to go for this time around. In recent weeks, we've seen them field Cutter and Noble there in the top lane, but given the way that things have played out before, sometimes the Green Melon, who is their mid laner, will oftentimes go up and sub into that role, and they'll play a lot of these kinds of not tanks, but these like off tanks or off engaged types of champions that kind of allow for them to dictate the pace of the round regardless of where they are. So they play a lot of Galio, for instance, who has presence across the map, and we've also seen other people like Noble going onto the Shen. So we may be seeing that kind of coordinated play coming out of them as they hope to assert themselves for a first win here in the Aegis Guardians League. So a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm really excited to see not only how they draft here, but just frankly where the people on their team are going.
Yeah, I think you brought up the good point there, is that there is a lot of turnover rate on this Glacial Omen squad that is maybe attributing to their issues with being able to particularly get wins. Looking back here in the regular season, Glacial Esports Glacial Omen, pardon me, not Glacial Esports, but Glacial Omen as a team, they had in their loss week 2, they ended up losing 2 bans because of an emergency sub. Same thing in week 3, another emergency subs with 2 bans, and then in week 4 even, Glacial Omen had to null a ban in their first round as well. So they are definitely feeling the effects of that, and even in gold level play, it's very difficult to be able to have that impact in terms of draft when you lose 1 or 2 or even 3 bans throughout a draft phase. It can be really important that that one key champion that normally would be banned out is still available for them, and that definitely creates that bit of a rough situation for them. And so I'm hoping that today there shouldn't be any issues with that. But speaking of kind of what's going on within the game side of things, because there are some bans and some options that are not available. The Senna TK currently not available right now. There's some issues, I believe, with the client that are going in with that. I do believe that Renata is unavailable. I'll get confirmation on that. It's still, within the first 2 weeks of Renata Glass being there. But it's definitely going to be really fun when she comes onto it. Renata will be available next week. Shout out to our producer, Samalkram, in my ear, letting me know about that. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting draft, going to be an exciting game. Should be about ready to get into our first draft phase now. Just blanket blind prediction here, Nyarko. Who do you think has this series?
Ooh, I think that Tufts Sapphire have shown the ability to play for objectives and play for the long game, and looking at the record that they've had so far. And so if they're able to act upon that and maybe push back against some of the discord that we've seen recently in Glacial Omen's games just due to these roster shuffles and whatnot, we could see them walking away with the victory. Moose, in return, I would like to ask you a question regarding who you want to see coming out of this pick ban phase. Nothing too big.
Champion-wise or just prediction-wise of who's going to win?
Ooh, I would like to hear both, actually. We do get the Ari ban early on, though, so if
yeah,
that was one of your predictions, unfortunately, that would be going through alongside the Yuumi being banned out by the side of Tufts Sapphire.
No, I always want Talia. I want to see a Talia game played. Yes. That is my champion. She's my girl. I love her. She's definitely fun. Unfortunately, it's not normally played in the gold level. It's not really played at all right now because battle mages in the jungle are currently unpopular. But, I'm just riding the wave. I'm riding the wave. Right now, we're kind of at like our little valley, but don't worry. Give it a couple more patches. It'll be peaked up again. Everyone will want those battle mage junglers. We'll see the Talias. Maybe we'll see Morgana, Diana come back into the fold. But for now, like I said, I'm just kind of like riding that wave. And I don't expect to see her today. If I do, though, it'd be a little treat for old Moosey here. But regardless of that, some expected bans coming in. Zeri is going to be the last ban for Glacial Omen. Obviously still extremely strong, even here in 12.4, 12.5, has the opportunity to really be impactful in the early and the mid game. On top of that, the Ari ban, assassination mage, going to be denied. The other ban that I'm really interested to see here is this Hecarim. Tufts Sapphire not wanting to have that be available to them. That is a champion that has been played pretty regularly here in the AGL, and so maybe worried about what impact it can bring to the table, so they're going to take that out. Glacial Omen, they've got the Seraphine already locked in. They're going to pair it with the Varus, and Karma is the first lineup pick for Tufts.
And I'm liking this early Seraphine selection from the side of Glacial Omen. In 12.5, she did get a buff there into that support role, her W being a little bit more effective, especially as the game draws on forward. That scaling is going to really be valuable in team fights. It's just going to allow for a little bit more coherent of a front to back. And if it is the case that Darling Panda is going to be able to land a good charm on the enemy team, you could be seeing some real carnage go down, especially given the damage output that Varus is capable of in the right hands.
Haha, I'm excited here, Niarco, and it's because we're gonna get to see the Zac once again. I love Zac, especially in gold level plays, because it's one of those champions that has a little bit of a safety net if you go for maybe a failed gank, but you have the opportunity to go in for these really strong angles and be effective as early as level 3 with your elastic slingshot. I've seen a ton of Zac played at the gold platinum level, and it's been played pretty effectively here, so I'm excited to see what Tufts Sapphire is going to be able to do with it, especially since they've also got some CC with the Karma, and even the Jhin Deadly Flourish into Karma being able to root as well is going to definitely be effective, I think, in terms of building up that CC, building up a little bit more of this kind of front to back that Tufts has built up here. Glacial Omen, though, they're countering it with the Trundle. They have a lot of poke already with the Seraphine Varus, and then just a frontline meat shield with that Pillar of Frost for the Trundle. So curious to see what they decide to take out. They deny the set, so denying an initiation tool, that stuff that Tufts maybe still looking to go for. Zac not necessarily, like, he does have, like I said, the elastic slingshot, but if he misses it, that's not really the most effective initiation. Set, on the other hand, Showstopper, really strong at initiating that one, so not going to be available. Glacial Omen, though, I've been talking about how powerful Neeko is with the recent buffs that she's had. She's going to get denied out, denying that root, which could potentially be the catalyst for a ton of roots and damage for Glacial Omen. So Tufts not allowing that one. Their second ban, the Soraka. They're worried about the banana mid laner here today, Niarco.
Yeah, I think that denying the Soraka here is a pretty smart move from the side of Tufts, because it does allow for some amount of flexibility on Glacial Omen's side if it remains open. Seraphine can be flexed into the mid role, although her power has diminished recently, especially with the 12.5 changes. But right. Also, Soraka mid, LS special, has been talked about as being pretty darn powerful, and if Tufts wants to opt into something that's a little bit more passive, it might be a good idea to take out a champion that is able to basically turbo scale due to the fact that she's building such cheap items, as well as just gobbling up all of that farm from the mid lane. Ornn going to be the selection for the top lane on the side of Omen here, just going to be a big tank. Ornhorn, just a fantastic initiator for team fights, will allow for Trundle to kind of get on top of people in combination with the pillar, and it looks like that we're getting a hover of the Gwen there in the top lane for Tufts Sapphire. Those E changes are pretty substantial. They kind of change how that champion feels right now, but in the right hands, I could still see that being piloted to perfection, as now we have a hover of a Shen here. What do you think that means? Oh no, it's going to change right there to the Vex. So that's a little bit more standard. Looks like that we're definitely looking at a mid lane pick here at the end for Tufts, just rotating through all their options.
I mean, it would have been cool to see the Shen, because then we could say Shen and Gwen, they're trying to be able to give us, you know, maybe a little bit of some fun interactions, especially in the mid lane with mid lane Gwen. It could be pretty fun, but I digress. Akali is going to be the final lock-in here, so Tufts Sapphire has made their presence known. Gwen not being banned out. Looks like Glacial Omen did have to forfeit a ban here at the end, so they didn't get to ban out that Gwen. That's a really powerful pickup, and again, you know, the opportunities that you have to be able to get those high priority champions out of the picture is not going to be available to them. So Tufts Sapphire are going to pick up that Gwen along with the Akali here. And now we got Galio and Ornn coming in. I gotta tell you a little bit. I gotta tell you, Niarco, I'm feeling like you were talking about how the Galio is probably going to be something that Glacial Omen is going to be going for. It's a little bit more of a comfort pick. But looking at the composition, looking at what they built up in the first part of the draft, it's a little bit confusing for me. I'm not really understanding the position that Glacial Omen is going for with this draft.
I definitely agree with that. The green melon really does favor the Galio pick, and I think that if you get to a specific type of fight where you require quick rotations from people, it can be valuable, especially in the early to mid game before you really begin to see grouping and the movement of both teams as one. But if you are getting to those 5v5s or those 4v4s, I think that the Galio just simply doesn't offer enough presence in terms of burst damage or continuous damage throughout a fight coming into that probably mid lane role here. It could be the case that Seraphine goes mid, Galio goes support, but given Green Melon's prowess for piloting the champion, I think we're most likely going to be seeing that mid. And with that in mind, I really wanted to see something that synergized a little bit better with Seraphine combo. That ability to just do so much with Encore to dictate the pace of a fight would really make me kind of gravitate towards an assassination style champion or even a burst mage instead of that pick of the Galio.
You're really focusing on your Varus to be your damage, right? Like you want to be able to see them be able to pop off and get the nice piercing arrow into several members. And while it is plausible, it does create, I think, limited win conditions for Glacial Omen. Not saying that they're going to lose, because that's obviously not the case. Any draft can win games, right? It's just that when you base your win condition, especially when you're going into maybe some team fights here with only one carry, if the carry falls, your entire composition kind of falls through here. You have a lot of CC, you do have a lot of peel for this Varus to be able to potentially stay alive throughout these engagements. But if he does end up getting collapsed upon, if for some reason the CC lands onto him, it's going to be really difficult for Glacial Omen to be able to actually be able to get a win. Now, really quick, folks, I do want to give you guys a little bit of an update, confirming now that the Gwen pick is actually not Gwen. It is actually the Shen. So, not Gwen, but Shen in the top lane. Kind of changes a little bit of what Tufts is going to be able to bring to the table. They still have two carries in the Jhin and the Akali, but now they have a little bit more split pushing potential with that stand united on the Shen there in the top lane.
And Shen, I think, makes a lot of sense given the composition that Tufts is going for. They'll have a lot of pressure and engage tools that Shen can then kind of leverage into unbalanced fights by utilizing Stand United, as you talked about. And going back to Glacial Omen for a second, because I think that now you have two champions with global and semi-global supportive style ultimates. I think that there is something to be said about the fact that you are selecting champions like the Galio and Ornn as pretty strong backups if you are going to be drafting a composition with a singular carry here, right? The Varus is going to be well protected and is going to have a really solid front line, allowing for Glacial Omen to kind of delineate the space within a fight. So I do want to give them props there. We do definitely have concerns about the way that the draft is playing out for them, but I think that there's definitely ways that Aoki Spirit there in the mid lane will be able to leverage that Galio to work, especially into the Akali matchup, where if you build tanky, Akali may struggle to fully burst out and assassinate that champion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm just like, what I do, Niarco, is I visualize, right? I see the team fight in my brain, and I try to see, you know, how it actually works out. I think that it would be pretty easy to think that Shuriken lands on to Entity as this Varus, and then Akali just able to dash right to her or dash right to him and then zero to death him, right? Like, I think that that's definitely something that is viable there. So I think we're expecting then Glacial Omen to be the ones that are initiating these fights, because they do have a lot of initiation tools. I've got the Ornn and the Galio. Even the Trundle can initiate if he finds a nice Pillar of Frost. He's then able to follow that up with an Encore. So I think that in order for Glacial Omen to actually do well in this comp, they have to play fights on their terms, and they have to be able to initiate them so that the Zac can't come in with his elastic slingshot, so that the Akali can't find the shuriken, so that the curtain call that Softboy is going to try to go for isn't going to necessarily be as effective because they've already initiated upon them. Jin's not going to be able to really drop that curtain call and stay in one place because there is so much knockup potential, so much CC to go up against him. I want to see Entity on this Varus go full damage. Like I say, go that Duskblade or go the Muramana. Just really don't even worry about resistances here. Just build up the damage and just try to be that super hyper carry that Varus can be, and make sure that you don't get hit by anything, right? Like, don't get hit. That's the goal. That's the goal.
It is going to be a tall task to not get hit given Tufts' composition. As you talked about before, Moose, that presence of the Akali, of these champions that can get to that backline and really wreck face if the side of Glacial Omen isn't careful, will be a huge burden placed upon the bot side of the map for Omen. And it'll be interesting to see how they play that out. I think that Tufts also, though, they definitely have a high execution barrier regarding some of their champions in terms of making sure that they get the most out of them, especially as the game goes on. Akali really needs to work for that flank, and in turn, you really have to see a good vision game. Karma has to figure out the right times to move across the map to get those lines up near the neutral objectives and help dictate the pace of fights. And I'm sure that they all will be able to do so, but it is definitely going to be a challenge to behold as we move here deeper into this series.
Challenge indeed, and it's a challenge accepted for both of these lineups. Tufts Sapphire versus Glacial Omen. Game number 1 is now within a spectator delay, so we're going to take a quick break before we get into the match. So we'll be right back in about 90 seconds or so. See you guys shortly. And welcome back, folks. Aegis Guardians League week number 5, game 1 between Tufts, Sapphire and Glacial Omen has indeed begun. This is the opportunity for both of these teams to get their first tournament win here in this league. Yarko, what's your thoughts as we move into it?
Ooh, there's a lot to talk about. No crazy buys. We are getting that 4 pots and boots beginning on Jhin, which is always fun to see. But as we were kind of talking about off stream during this break, I think that these compositions are really going to be tests of both teams' skill. There's a lot of a burden for the side of Tufts Sapphire to execute their team fights well, to make sure that that Akali will get a good flank off and get those kills onto Entity and Darling Panda early on in fights. While similarly, Glacial Omen really have to play a protective kind of game here. They have to get good vision and ensure that they're fighting on their own terms in order for their singular carry in the form of that Varus to really pop off and take them to victory here. So a lot of stuff to work with and talk about as we go deeper. It looks like we are getting a topside start from both junglers, a leash beginning for the side of Glacial Omen, while Zach starts there at Wolves.
Yeah, Based in Black, I mean, should be fairly fine with going on his own. He has the blobs. It's just going to be a little low. Oh, that's Panda getting hit by the Deadly Flourish. Ignite's going to come through. Will actually First Blood happen. Softboy can flash forward, and will First Blood going towards Softboy 69 and Tufts Sapphire.
And you know, I think that Flash being burnt there is totally worth it to get so much priority over this early lane. Varus just simply can't do much by himself as a champion, especially given Karma's lane bully-like nature as we get some drama in the top side.
All right, Karma now in trouble, but we've got Based in Black and Cardi on the way. A beautiful knockup from Based in Black as we get the Night Shuriken landing, and Cardi's going to get the kill onto Green Melon. Tufts Sapphire, we were talking about this being a bloodbath, and bloodbath it is already. 2 kills over to the blue side.
So much drama so early in both of these matchups going in favor of the side of Tufts Sapphire. Definitely a big start to the game for them. It's just going to be a question of whether or not they're going to leverage this small lead properly going forward.
Man, I mean, that was such a beautiful cue from Based in Black to be able to get the knockup onto both members there, both onto Aoki and onto the Green Melon, so that they were able to find that kill for Cardi. And on top of that, Karma was also able to survive. Despite that, flashes used on both Karma and Based in Black. Softboy also does not have flash based on the earlier kill. But when you're in the lead by 1,200 gold less than 4 minutes into the game with a composition that has both Akali and Jhin, when you're able to get those kills onto them, you're definitely feeling happy about your position so far.
I just realized how difficult it is going to be to talk about the top laner for the side of Tufts Sapphire while there is a Karma, the champion, also on their team. Going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, definitely. And I think it's also a testament to the kind of threat assessment that we saw coming out of the side of Tufts Sapphire early on. They knew that this rotation and fight was something that they were able to take even as some of the champions went low on their side. So that was very impressive, and we'll see how they'll continue to leverage this as the first backs already coming through. Pickaxe going over to the Jhin from that early kill.
And he also has all 4 pots still at his disposal, along with 2 biscuits. 2 biscuits, Nyarko. That's like a lot of regen. I don't know how else to say it. It's like a bunch of G Fuel, right? Like you're just you're never falling out of energy and health. I was talking about it. I was at a Level Up Expo last week, and I had more G Fuel than I've had probably in several years, maybe over in a decade here in Nyarko. So with that being said, the energy is definitely going to be there. Based in Black, not going to be able to land the slingshot. And so at the moment, it definitely feels like Tufts Sapphire is in a pretty solid position. Obviously, we could have things go disastrously for them, but we've got a CS lead in the bot lane. We got a nice CS lead in the top lane as well. What's the expectation here that Glacial Omen needs to have in order to come back into this one?
I think that right now what Glacial Omen needs to do is look at the lanes that they're getting priority in. Karma has taken a few tough trades up here on the top side of the map that has allowed for Green Melon to exert a little bit more control there. So if he can get priority, maybe get some rotations going, or at least jump out of vision. Ooh, that was a big stun. And quite a bit of damage, as I was kind of illustrating right there, going over onto the Shen. But between that and the ability for Galio to do things, speaking of which,
Wow, nicely done. Yeah, Trumley TVE going to fall there. A nice setup from Based in Black, finding the elastic slingshot out of vision, and you end up falling. What were you saying, Yarko?
yeah, sorry, just too much action to contain here. We, but what I was trying to say is that, yeah, getting that kind of rotation where Aoki Spirit was able to move down can be really valuable from the side of Glacial Omen. And although that movement didn't really work out in their favor, you still have dead players on the side of Glacial Omen coming out of that play. I think that this priority is what's going to be necessary. You need to free up and make possibilities to get kills to get back into this game, and also hopefully maybe contest something like the Rift Herald that will be spawning shortly.
And I mean, the possibilities of that are there, but maybe not going to work. Green Melon is going to miss the headbutt as he uses the Call of Forge God, trying to be able to escape. Nice taunt from Karma as he tries to be able to finish the job, but about 200 HP remaining. Green Melon should be able to get out of it. Karma using teleport a little bit earlier, but going to end up being the Green Melon that has the teleport for the time being. Doesn't have to go back quite yet. He does have a little bit of health resistances remaining. I think he just chugged his last corrupting potion as we get into a break.
Yeah, the Corrupting Potion plus the Grasp of the Undying means that the Green Melon does have the opportunity to stay in lane if they so desire. Given the fact that we are seeing this pause right now, he's got a little bit of time to think that over. You also have that teleport option still open, as you were talking about, just to hop back if need be.
And that was something that I think was interesting that I've really started to pick up on is when there are pauses in game, right? Like if like it happens. It doesn't matter whether you're live, it doesn't matter if you're like if you're at a LAN or if you're at, if you're doing it online like through an internet. It all makes sense that pauses like this will happen, and it's the quality of a good player to be able to use that opportunity to be able to effectively come back from it and take whatever strategy, whatever options they have in order to get themselves back on track. Maybe try to come up with a different idea of how things are going to be able to work. Speaking of getting things to work, shout out to Simulcrum as our producer. Has definitely not had the best time with the client so far. I know that 12.5 has definitely been pretty rough for spectators, so if we can get a shout out for him in the chat as well, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, shout outs indeed. Thank you so much, Simulcrum. And also, if we get a wish for no more Iverns, given how he's been interacting with the client, as we get a gank on the bot side.
Yeah, nicely done there from Charmly. Nice, also Daring Panda, or Darling Panda, pardon me. Not even a Daring Panda, a Darling Panda. Adorable and cute Panda will be able to land the root. So that is going to result in the flash getting taken. Softboy will not have that available. That is a pretty substantial summoner spell that won't be available for the next 2.5 minutes or so. Speaking of Crossed the Rift, teleport used by Green Melon. He did come back. He was able to pick up a couple of control wards, which he cannot build from his portable forge. And on top of that, we also get to see the boot finally coming online for Aoki's Spirit. He picks up the Predator and wants to try to use that to maybe be effective in these side lanes now that he is level 6, has the hero's entrance, and could really be impactful if we do get to see a gank coming in. We've got very deep waves on both the top lane and the bot lane, but no jungler presence and no champions to be able to pick up an entrance there.
And we are seeing a movement of both Charmly and Based in Black up here to the top side of the map. The Herald is up, and currently Glacial Omen does have vision of it. So this could lead to a scuffle if we see Tufts Sapphire trying to move towards that river, but for the time being, it looks like we're getting Zach backing off, just going in for that first set of buys here. Meanwhile, bot side of the map, we're going to be seeing Entity and Darling Panda returning to a pretty big wave pushing on into them. I don't think they're going to be losing too much here, as Varus kind of has the jump with those built boots to make sure that he catches it. And speaking of the bot lane, I think that one of the things that Glacial Omen really needs to play towards right now is this range advantage that they have in the early game. Lost Sight is going to be kind of outranged by the Seraphine for the time being, as we get big trades up here on the top side. Another headbutt just having to send Green Melon back towards his side of the wave. That is a pretty big set of blue minions to fight in.
And that's, I think, the power of the Shen, especially as we get to the level 8, level 9. You're able to kind of bully the Ornn with your health, with your armor, and make it kind of difficult for Green Melon to get successful trades in. Once we get level 13, level 14, and Melon's able to build in to those mythic items, get those augments and those ornaments coming through, it's a little bit of a different story. But at that point, Karma's goal is to be able to use that Stand United effectively, get a nice shield, and really make sure to keep the pressure on in whatever team fight or objective control that they wanted to go for. Speaking of objectives, Charmley was able to pick up the kill on to the Rift Herald as we get a gank from Based in Black in the mid lane. Doesn't work out that time. We got Dragon spawning in about 45.
Yeah, and with this Herald, I think that Glacial Omen has a decent shot at contesting the Dragon. They'll be able to... Ooh, that was a call before they got top and him gank mid.
Yeah, Based in Black able to pick up that kill against Aoki's Spirit, but it's Green Melon that picks up the nice frag against Karma there. So it ends up being a 1-4-1 throughout the Rift, but it is going to be mid-control and priority there for the side of Tufts Sapphire. But Cardi going a little bit too far forward and may fall here. Subjugate used by Charmley, but it won't actually be enough. And a nice escape from Cardi, being able to also take away that big ultimate. Subjugate not going to be available for this dragon fight that is starting up now. Encore is ready for Darling Panda, but a nice slingshot going to land one. We've got the nice knockup coming in from Aoki Spirit, going to get the taunt on to Lost Sight. Light Salt will fall, as well as Softboy, who has very little health remaining and will get hit by the edge of that Encore. A double kill for Aoki Spirit as we try to see if Cardi can finish the job and get the cleanup here. Charlie will get the kill on a Base in Black, being able to get the blobs to come in, and that is disaster for Tufts Sapphire as Glacial Omen is able to pick up 2 and the dragon.
Base in Black getting a really good engage, but also getting punished by the single fact that he had to jump right into a Trundle, who basically was able to make that sort of a 1v1 right there, as Darling Panda and Entity were able to move around the fight, get damage and engages where they needed to. And I particularly like the fact that Seraphine held that ultimate for a little bit, was able to get that engage to continue the push and secure more kills for the side of Glacial Omen, as we see this Rift Herald being dropped bot side. A lot of gold going back over to the red team, which just, I'm surprised is the case given how this early game played out. So Glacial Omen really sticking back in it, now up a bit of gold, and this will translate over into the first few items as Everfrost is already completed for the side of the Galio.
Get to start to see the rebound come online for Glacial Omen, a point where they will have, I think, control of the Rift for a little while here. Don't really want to see Tufts Sapphire go in for a team fight outside of a neutral objective. You want to see them be able to use the neutral objectives as bait to be able to find the initiation to fights that they want. And on top of that, they also are just trying to be able to build up those mythic items, which they haven't yet gotten at the 13-minute mark. Gale Force, the first one completed for Softboy and the side of Tufts. That's going to be nice there, as well as the Hex Tech Rocket Belt, which should be about ready to get online for a Cardi. If we could take a look at golds really quick, we can see where they're at in terms of being able to get that one to come through. Yeah, 4,000 gold there for a Cardi as the Akali. And that's kind of, I think, what I'm trying to see here with Cardi being kind of a little bit more impactful when she does get the Rocket Belt, when she does actually get some damage in her items, to be a little bit more impactful. It's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, you are starting to get both sides really beginning to build into the first set of power spikes here. But given the way that we've seen Glacial Omen start this game off, and the fact that you get this early, big call of the Forge God, gonna be set up into a knockup, but this is mostly just to get that wave crashed in. But yes, as I was saying, always drama in this game, you know. I think that it is the case that with this Ornn in the top lane, you have to see this gold lead as actually quite a bit bigger than it currently is for Glacial Omen. They're going to be getting so much value as things progress forward with these upgraded items, especially things like the Everfrost being built up into the Neverwinter. That's going to be huge roots and huge potential for crowd control, especially combined with the Predator boots from Aoki Spirit there in the mid lane.
Exactly. And with that being said, 2 minutes remaining until the next big neutral objective. Maybe a little bit less than that. Maybe about 90 seconds or so until the Rift Herald does respawn. That's going to be pretty big if they're able to pick that one up as Encore gets used. I mean, that is the play right there. That is why Darling Panda is there. A stand-still Jhin in Curtain Call really can't be stopped, or it can be stopped with the Encore, or maybe even, Green Melon being able to go for that long CC with the Call of the Forge God. So being able to deny that is pretty big. So I expect to see Softboy maybe use that more as a poking tool at the very beginning of fights so that they can maybe whittle down Entity or Darling Panda at the earlier stages, and then from there then be able to move in with the Gale Force with the auto attacks and get that nice crit on the 4th shot.
And kind of setting up a fight in that way, Moose, I think also allows for the other members of Tufts Sapphire to really shine in bigger fights, because not only are you softening them up, but you're also able to kind of allow for Softboy on the Jhin to sit back and figure out how to approach to make sure that he also gets to that backline, maybe is able to Gale Force over a wall to get to Entity or Darling Panda, something of that nature. Could be really valuable to watch out for. But for the time being, it looks like we're trying to get Green Melon into the driver's seat so that he could rotate over to that Rift Herald that has now spawned.
Unleashed teleports are now available 16 minutes into the game, and it does look like Glacial Omen's going to be the ones that will be able to pick up the use of the second Rift Herald. The question now is, and that's the big question, especially for any member, any league, any player, what are you going to be able to do when you know that the other team is going for a neutral objective? Do you go for towers? Do you go for another neutral objective? And at this case, it looks like it's going to be Tufts Sapphire looking to try to build up a fight here at the Dragon. We have a Mountain Soul. Extra resistances would be huge for Glacial Omen if they are able to get it. As the rest of Glacial Omen try to be able to pick it up, Flash is going to be used, but nice Deadly Flourish is going to land on Aoki Spirit, and the shutdown is going to come in. We can see Charmley be able to pick up a tower in the mid lane thanks to the Rift Arrows, and a nice double kill now. Looking to maybe make it a triple kill. No, not quite, as Entity is able to pick up the kill on to Akardi. Rift Herald getting dropped to the mid lane, and no one has taken the Drake yet. No one is even close to taking the Drake, and now Charmley and Entity are looking to be able to finish the job. Not quite able to get the smite there, Charmley, but instead, Based in Black able to get that smite onto the Dragon. 2-for-1 advantage in favor of Tufts Sapphire, but in order to get that, they sacrifice a kill and 2 towers in the mid lane.
And I have to say, given how that fight played out, frankly, I think Glacial Omen has to be relatively happy with what happened here. Tufts Sapphire definitely could have pushed that advantage a little bit more, given the fact that Aoki Spirit basically stood around the river and let everyone just collapse on them for, frankly, nothing. He really didn't get to do a whole lot during that fight, and it was up to Entity and Darling Panda to really dictate and get that double kill back established onto the side of Glacial Omen here. So hopefully we'll be seeing a little bit better coordination going forward from that side. And meanwhile, Tufts Sapphire, they could have gotten a little bit more, but given the fact that they are now up 2 Drakes to 1, they're going to look to try to stack up another one, get to that soul point, and hopefully play out for that long game.
I mean, 2 dragons is one thing, but a 4,000 gold lead for Glacial Omen is indeed another. they have been able to CS a storm. And on top of that, the 2 towers that they're able to take in the mid lane, that gold is a huge influx of money that is still available for Tufts Sapphire to pick up. That is something that's kind of been a bit of an issue for Tufts Sapphire in these last previous weeks, is being able to finish and close out games, being able to get that objective control, especially when it comes to towers, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to destroy the Nexus, and you have to be able to get yourself control of the Rift, and unfortunately, that is not something that they have quite at the moment. With all outer towers down and the mid tier 2 tower down as well, it means that Glacial Omen is able to move forward and try to go for picks like this. Karma is in trouble, trying to be able to survive this one. Lost Sight is there, but not quite quickly enough. Charmly will pick up that kill as Cardi teleports in. Not able to pick that one up, and Baron spawning in 29 seconds. Don't think they can go for that, but just more money over to this Trundle.
Yeah, you could see what that priority really is starting to get Glacial Omen. They waltz, frankly, through this topside jungle of Tufts Sapphire, managed to get all these camps and also convert it into a kill. And all that while, you have Aoki Spirit down there in that bot lane, getting those wave pushed in that Jin will have to catch. But this just shows the amount of dominance. Aoki Spirit's just basically able to take a leisurely stroll now through the bot blue side jungle and is pretty happy in just kind of hanging around and trying to wait for plays to come to them.
Cruising, perusing, and indeed not losing the macro play right now. Definitely feeling good about where they are at in terms of their carries, because as you can see on your screen, Aoki Spirit as this Galio, he is not playing a tanky boy. He is all AP. He's got Predator to be able to get into position, but he's got the Everfrost. He's got himself a Sorcerer's Boots, but doesn't really have a lot of resistances just yet. Just that Negatron Cloak. Divine Sunderer picked up for Charmly, thanks to all of the gold that he's been able to get onto the table. And so, with that being said, like, this is, I think, a very strong rebound for the side of Glacial Omen. They're definitely still feeling like they are in the driver's seat. The only scary part that we have right now is what happens in the next 90 seconds or so. If we get Soul Point for Tufts Sapphire, that's an extra, 14%? 12% resistances there for armor and magic resistance with those mountain drakes. That's going to definitely be really tough for both Aoki and Entity to be able to get past their front line. And on top of that, they're going to just continue to scale up. Cardi and Sapphire, they're just going to continue to get more damage. They've got their mythic items. I shouldn't say already. They have their mythic items. They're looking to go for second items, and once they do, they'll definitely be able to pack a punch.
And when you look at this game in terms of influence, we definitely have this kind of topographical advantage over to the side of Glacial Omen, with those towers down and with the individual power of their champions really beginning to shine through here. But like you were saying, Tufts Sapphire, if they're able to get up to that third dragon, will have this kind of temporal ability to dictate and put the game on a bit of a timer. They know that they'll have to then be able to go through a team fight or force a team fight there in another 5 minutes, and that will make them happy because it'll allow for them to kind of dictate and really prepare for that kind of situation. So we'll probably be seeing them really pushing for that river control as we see the side of Glacial Omen start this dragon up, not wanting to let that happen.
Yeah, no mid priority quite yet for the side of Tufts Sapphire, but they're still trying to go for this one. Stand United is ready. 2,000 gold. They're going to try to get it in, but no, it's going to be Charmly picking up the kill onto the Drake as we get the heroic entrance coming in. A lot of damage on the base in black, but he does have the revive and will be able to come through with it. One kill over to Cardi. He's able to take down Darling Panda. Now Entity's in trouble. That's a double kill for the Akali. They're looking to be able to run out, and they do. 2-for-1 special in favor of Tufts Sapphire, but the Drake goes over to Glacial Omen.
And that was about the best type of fight that Tufts Sapphire can hope for right now, given the way that the champions are beginning to play out for Omen. Cardi getting a fantastic flank off and getting the kills onto the bot lane, really kind of exemplifying what that character is made to do and their purpose within this game itself. As we talked about many times before, we have Entity as really the sole damage dealer on the side of Glacial Omen, especially given the fact that Seraphine is going for that Moonstone Stone Renewer build. So with that in mind, you have to be careful around those kinds of objectives. And although that could have led to Glacial Omen being torn apart a lot more, they managed to get away with only really a 1 kill advantage going over to the side of Tufts Sapphire, as well as the Dragon at their disposal. That's something they're going to have to continuously watch out for as the game progresses.
And we've been talking about this kind of ticking time bomb that I think that is coming online. Green Melon has, really now started to pop off here with those ornaments, level 14, looking to continue to build those. A lot of damage onto Darling Panda, can't quite land the finishing blow, but that's the power of the Akali, right? Like, able to just put in that damage, and the further that this game goes on, the stronger that the assassination power of this Akali becomes. And so I'm really looking to see when they're able to hit that 2-item power spike, when they're able to get to that option. We got the LDR now coming in from Softboy. We have close to second item for Cardi. I think that's going to be Demonic Embrace for her. I don't expect her to go for the Rylays here, as Charmly going to get hit. Even Charmly, who has a lot of health and a lot of resistance, is going to try to go for the smite onto the Gromp. Gets the Gromp, but at what cost? Going to get taunted and will get shut down. That kill going over to Karma there, as Entity tries to get the kill on the Soft Boys with the Gale Force. Be able to get her out. Hard damage, and that charm is coming in. Aoki's Spirit will be able to pick up a kill, as well as Darling Panda. My goodness, what an amazing charm there, as Entity trying to be able to survive, does survive, and that is 3 kills for 1 off of an amazing encore from Darling Panda.
So much to talk about in that fight. Charmly showing a little bit too much greed, getting that Gromp, but in turn being taken down early here, so his team is going to have to do the Baron without him. But that was just an incredible amount of power displayed by Glacial Omen. They didn't take the best fight there. The position was all out of whack, but Darling Panda was able to get that 3-man encore and in turn turn the tide of the entire battle in their favor here. This is a huge swing in terms of gold, but also in terms of advantage across the map. They already have so many towers down on the side of Tufts Sapphire, and what that means is now that they're backing with this Baron buff, they're going to be able to really start sieging the entirety of Tufts Sapphire's base.
I mean, objective control has been there for Glacial Omen, and I mean, that team fight right there is what Darling Panda was there for, trying to be able to use the charm so that they're then able to layer on the CC, because it wasn't just Darling Panda that landed the CC. It was Green Melon with the Call of the Forge God. It was Aoki's Spirit with a nice taunt onto those 3 members that were indeed charmed. And if you're able to get that charm onto Cardi and to Softboy, there is not a lot of damage onto the side of Tufts Sapphire besides them. You've got 2 members with, a Bomby Cinder mythic item, the Frostfire Gauntlet, and the Sunfire Aegis for the Shen and the Zac. So you really want to be able to make sure that the carries are safe, but unfortunately, Entity was far safer. He had just so much more protection there and was able to survive that fight, leading to the Baron now coming through. Lost sight, losing some vision here, gonna get hit by the Frost Pillar and will fall. That's rough, and that's, I mean, not quite going to be GG for Tufts Sapphire, but Glacial Omen is definitely in a good position.
That is most likely going to be bot side turret as well as Dragon going to actually be putting Glacial Omen themselves up at soul point, as we get a little bit of a view of the Green Melon getting this big split off against Karma, Call of the Forge God going down. Oh, actually whiffing the headbutt.
No, got taunted there, so can't really do it if you're seasoned. So a little bit of a sad news bear situation, but Green Melon's been not afraid to drop that neutral or to drop that huge ultimate, but actually I don't think has really been punished for it quite yet. Maybe he gets punished now. Green Melon really with no way to escape, gonna have to flash away and will indeed survive, but is gonna lose that summoner spell out of it. Meanwhile, like you said, the Soul Point is now online for Glacial Omen. Mountain Soul, the extra shielding, the extra resistances would be massive for the massive front line that they currently have. Tons of HP from Melon and Charmly. Even Aoki's Spirit with that Force of Nature is going to be feeling strong. But we still have to think that there is hope for this Tough Sapphire squad. They can bring this one back. They have the potential to put in a lot of damage onto Entity and Darling Panda, especially now that Cardi has that Demonic Embrace. We're looking at almost 3 items for Softboy, has the Zeal to be able to pick up item number 3. I think that's going to be RFC there. And so, I mean, there is definitely still a chance for Tough Sapphire to bring it back, but they've really let the mid game fall out of their control. And as we hit the 30-minute mark, they're going to be down by almost 8k.
Yeah, but besides the untimely death of Lost Sight there in that bottom lane that cost them the dragon, I do think that Tough Sapphire is emerging from that period where the Baron buff was on Glacial Omen's side relatively unscathed. We actually haven't seen a huge crash or push into the base, with Glacial Omen opting instead to really focus on objectives and counter jungling, as well as just getting more gold to their side in order to try to get a better push later on in the game. And in turn, I think that this is giving Tough Sapphire a little bit of breathing room, because even in that last big fight that we saw, we might be getting another one right now, though, as it looks like Base in Black is maybe looking for an entrance and an engage. But as I was saying, I think that it might be the... I'm going to let you talk through this one, though. This is a very antsy fight, and I don't want to cut into that.
No, you're good. I mean, the corridor play, maybe not the place where Tough Sapphire wants to go in. Aoki Spirit knows that, because... especially if he's able to get a multi-man taunt like they were, Darling Panda can land the Encore, and then that's GG. But like you were talking about it, you were talking about strangling resources away from them, but now we could potentially see the fight here in the mid lane. Gonna be bounced from Based in Black to try to go on to Entity. A lot of damage onto him, but not quite too much. Darling Panda now in trouble, gonna get hit by the Shuriken. Nice Encore to be able to stop it. The CC is there, and Based in Black will fall. It is a double kill for Entity. Softboy 69 will take down Aoki's Spirit to make it a 2-for-1 trade, but your front line and your Akali are now down on the side of Tough Sapphire. Entity not going to be able to, going to be able to survive, as we do get Curtain Call getting used. Darling Panda in trouble, but Entity's going to be there to survive and take those hits. We'll be down to about 400 HP, but there is no follow-up to stop that siege. And now it's Charmley in trouble, maybe this time, and won't be able to get out of it. Softboy69 will pick up 2 kills there, being way too aggressive in that play. So overall, we've got a 2-for-2 play in favor of nobody, because it was both mid lanes and junglers. Dragon spawning in 90 seconds, and Tough Sapphire base remains intact.
We do have an 8k gold lead on the side of Glacial Omen here, but we've been saying this a few times now that this honestly could have gone far worse for Tough Sapphire than it has. The fact that Cardi kind of overstayed in that mid lane fight after the Based in Black engage kind of went downhill could have been a sign for concern, but you did get that kill on Aoki's Spirit, and then you had Charmley getting caught out in the top side of the map to kind of equalize that pressure in that fight here. And that means that now that we're moving back towards a Baron respawn, that you kind of have everything at a relatively even keel. Tough Sapphire going to obviously be down a little bit of pressure and damage output because of the gold gap here, but I think that they still definitely have a chance. They have to make sure that they play around Darling Panda's Encore, and they have to make sure that they're able to position well, but there's a lot to contest, a lot to work with here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them taking a fight very soon.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a handshake that will be liked for on the side of Glacial Omen. Baron is going to get picked up for them, and now they're looking to be able to potentially end the game with it. Tough Sapphire, I don't think expected that the Baron was going to be taken, and now with 8 seconds remaining, Glacial Omen's going to be able to get it, and they actually are going to be able to get a flank onto them as well. We've got 3 members coming in. Let's Bounce is going to come through. Maybe a little bit of damage on the Entity, but not any damage actually at all. As the Encore lands once again for Darling Panda onto 3 members. Karma's going to fall. Cardi's going to fall. The Dragon isn't even needed. It is 4 down on the side of Tough Sapphire, and Glacial Omen, after what was a disastrous first 2 minutes, are going to be able to bring this game back and will handedly win this one. 12,000 gold advantage, 33 minutes in. They're going towards the base, and they'll win game 1.
I think that you saw a big misstep right there in terms of macro with Tough Sapphire deciding to go for what you said as a handshake. Um, they just simply had too much time on the clock before that dragon spawned, and that meant that you got this big rotation from Glacial Omen, and this is going to result in the victory for the red team here. Big plays coming through, a lot of mistakes that have been capitalized on from both sides, but this was a hard fought and frankly well-deserved victory for Glacial Omen, especially after that pretty crazy start for them.
Yeah, I'm a little flabbergasted there. Tough Sapphire, that the game just did not work for them after the 10-minute mark. Things just went from bad to worse, and they didn't have control of the rift even though having the opportunities to do so. They had kills on their carries, they had momentum going, but they just didn't have the, I think, the wherewithal and the presence of mind to keep that momentum going, to try to go in for that deep vision, to go for that control. And unfortunately, it makes them fall short here. It was just really surprising to see. But it's what happens when you're in gold level play. Any comp can win, any team can win. It all depends on, how comfortable you are as a group. And at this point, it was pretty clear that Glacial Omen, despite having a lot of rotations in terms of their lineup, was definitely a lot more in control. Felt like they had a lot more coordination, and they definitely had a lot of presence in these team fights, especially with those encores from Darling Panda.
Yeah, Darling Panda for me, definitely my personal MVP of this game because I think that it cut back against a lot of the weaknesses and worries that we had, Moose, before the game started. We were afraid that on the side of Glacial Omen, in with the soul carry of the Varus, you would just have big flanks coming through and a huge dive onto the backline where you would get the support and AD carry quickly bursted down. But Tough Sapphire just simply didn't respect the encore and the power that CC has on the on kind of working as peel away from the side of the Varus. Right, he was able to do so much work alongside the rest of the team. Frankly, Trundle also putting a huge amount of damage and control onto the map there. And I think that because of that, we could very easily see that Seraphine getting banned away in this upcoming game.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with how much that we saw Darling Panda work with it. I think that that would be, I wouldn't say that wouldn't be like unexpected because of how well he was able to play, right? There are, maybe other bands that they can potentially go through, but unfortunately for Tough Sapphire, it is a opportunity now to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out what they plan to do next round. We're going to take a quick break before we get into that draft. Game number 2 between Tough Sapphire and Glacial Omen is definitely going to be a good one. AGL will return in just a bit.
Everybody panic. Hold on. I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
All right, everybody, and welcome back. We are now going to be jumping into our live Game 2 match of our Week 5 featured series. Glacial Omen was able to take Game 1 against Tufts Sapphire, but now Tufts Sapphire is looking to be able to bring it back in Game 2 and an opportunity to take this to a Game 3 situation. Nyarko, what does Tufts have to do, I think, like, fundamentally, in order to bring this to a Game 3?
I think that we're going to have to see better threat assessment and a better understanding of team fights from the side of Tufts Sapphire this round in order for them to really capitalize on their draft picks. We saw big engagers and we saw damage being picked up on their side throughout the last pick and ban phase, but at the same time, I think that it is the case that they had a few too many over-eager engages by the Zac in the hands of Based in Black, for instance, that really kind of prevented them from moving coherently. So maybe going for picks that can better rectify that, going for engagers that maybe don't have to be so heavily committed to jumping straight into the group could be valuable. There's definitely a lot of directions to take this, and I'm interested to see how they adjust going forward.
Exactly. And with that being said, I do want to go for a little bit of a clarification here, folks. Glacial Omen does lose two bans out of every ban phase that we get because of an emergency sub. So glad that we're able to get that kind of figured out now. And you were talking about it, Nyarko, and it is the case. Seraphine not going to be available for Darling Panda here in Game 2. I think that that's a pretty wise move considering how well they were able to play last round.
Yeah, Seraphine was a terror fiend last game. I gotta say, those ultimates just did so much to shore up the potential weaknesses that we were discussing regarding the way that Glacial Omen built their team here. And it looks like we're also going to be seeing a shift from Entity away from the Varus this round, going to be locking in that early Zeri. Obviously, Zeri does have the potential to be played into the top lane in the hands of the Green Melon, but I think I'm happy with seeing them shore up an early game bot lane, especially as the Jinx comes out from the sides of Tufts alongside Karma yet again.
Well, because Jinx and Zeri were both banned in Game 1, so they weren't available to be used, right? And so now Jinx is on the table, and you're pairing it with probably one of her favorite supports in the Karma. Gonna be a lot of damage, a lot of bullying, a ton of fun, and Glacial Omen's also going to get one of their favorite supports on their Zeri. The Yuumi Zeri Terror is going to be available here in Game 2. They're going to pair it up with a mid Swain as well. And now you were talking about this, Nyarko. We could still potentially see Zeri go topside and a little bit of adaptability as we move into the second phase of this pick ban.
A flex definitely possible here with Swain going bot lane, or perhaps even Tot if Glow is feeling particularly spicy here. Yeah, Kane going to be picked up on the side of Tufts, but I think I do want to see the Yuumi and Zeri in lane together. I love this pairing. I frankly love Yuumi as a champion, and I know that most people will be yelling at their screens with me saying that, but it is so much fun to just ride the fast taxi as Zeri zips over walls, and the fact that you also have the ability to continuously provide shields via your passive and summon Aerie just means Zeri becomes all the more powerful.
That's ridiculous. I had to cover my face, cover my ears, saying, I love Yuumi. You love Yuumi? What the heck? What the heck? I'm not judging. I'm just saying what everyone is thinking. What the heck? You love Yuumi. Anyway, anywho, as we move into the second phase here, Tufts Sapphire, they pick up the Kayn that is most assuredly going into the jungle here. I wouldn't expect it otherwise. A Glacial Omen, though, is going to ban out the Akali and the Shen, both champions that we saw in Game 1. We were talking about, I think, the ability and the usefulness of Stand United from Karma in Game 1 wasn't necessarily there, So I'm a little surprised that they decided to ban out the Shen. The Akali makes a little bit more sense, was a little bit more productive. They're going to instead have to use a different mid laner this time, and it's going to be Victor as the lineup pick for Cardi.
I do like the Victor pick, especially with the assumption that they will be playing against Aoki Spirit on the Swain in the mid lane here. Victor scales up fantastically, but also has great presence in the mid lane. Even early on, his ability to just output damage as well as consistently provide kind of area of effect denial spells is really going to be a great boon for the side of Tufts, especially in this kind of early to mid game where you got a lot of fights and a lot of jostling for these neutral objectives in game one. And if that repeats there, really happy with that choice. Malphite Nocturne picked up onto the side of Glacial Omen, going to be rounding out the jungle and top spots respectively.
Man, this is a mid-game composition here. Nyarko, Glacial Omen, they are going to be terrifying once we get to the 11-12 minute mark. Level 9 start coming in. It's going to be really fun for them from the 10 to 20 minute mark. They're going to really be happy about that. Tufts Sapphire, on the other hand, oh my goodness, if this game lasts 30-35 minutes and it's still even, Tufts Sapphire should have this game in the bag. You've got a Gwen picked up along with the Kayn and the Victor along with the Jinx. A ton of carry potential over on the side of Tufts Sapphire, but like almost non-existent frontline unless you count the immunity that Gwen has, and if Kayn decides to go Rust.
A lot of things to think about in terms of Tufts' last pick here. The Gwen going to be a split pushing terror, and I do like that selection into the Malphite, who is going to be very team oriented, especially due to the presence of his ultimate helping to facilitate engages alongside Swain, Nocturne, and even final chapter off of Yuumi here. However, at the same time, Gwen does mean that you are lacking a front line here, especially into a composition that has terrifying amounts of engage power. So this is going to place a premium on good spacing and good vision control for Tufts Sapphire. And I don't know if they're up to the task here. Obviously, they want this game to go late and they want to be able to just hard carry through the damage output that they're able to get via the Victor and Jinx. But the question is, will they be able to survive and not die too much here against Glacial Omen with such an aggressive comp?
Yeah, I'm looking at this here. I'm looking at Tufts Sapphire and their position in game 2. Like, I like all the champions that they picked up. Like, all the puzzle pieces definitely look good. I would say, hey, that makes sense. But I'm like, I feel like you're missing something. Like, you're missing some frontline. You're missing some engage. You're missing the opportunity to start fights that you want. And Glacial Omen at this point is going to be able to take whatever fight that they desire, especially as we move into the mid game, which I feel, especially in gold level games, right? Like, the mid game is so powerful. It's so impactful because that's where you really start to see players be able to pick up their CS. That's when you actually start to see them build that second or third item. You're not seeing the mythic or the second items as early as you would in Diamond, Master, or Pro level play. And so once you're able to get to the mid game, once you get to level 9, level 10, level 11, and you can really start to farm up a little bit better, it makes it a little bit easier for you to be able to pick up CS, pick up that gold, and to be able to pick up those items. And Glacial Omen, I think, is built for that. Tufts Sapphire is going to have a tough task ahead of them. I don't know what the angle is in terms of gank is for them at the early stages of it. Based in Black, I think, just going to farm up here, try to get as much gold as possible in the early stages, so that when he does potentially go in for these ganks and does go for these Umbral Trespasses, that he will be able to pick up the kill. He's going to have a tough ride on his shoulders, but they do have a couple. They have, I think, a decently strong early game, especially in the bot lane, and because Nocturne is Nocturne, I probably won't be seeing a gank from him until level 6, so I think that that's an early angle that Tufts Sapphire has. What other early angles do you think that Glacial Omen can bring to the table here in Yarko?
I think that in this matchup, Glacial Omen has to be careful about Tufts Sapphire trying to get a lead through this early game in this laning phase before junglers really make themselves known on the map. Now, obviously, their champions aren't necessarily the best at doing so, but if it is the case that Tufts Sapphire are able to take solid 1v1s or 2v2s in the case of the bot lane, you could see them kind of rectify or at least push back against the lack of frontline or coherent 5v5 prowess, especially in the middle of the game, by just getting a little bit more gold onto themselves. So if I'm on the side of Glacial Omen, especially in that bot lane where you have the Yuumi into a lane bully like the Karma, I'm just wanting to play a little bit more passively, get the poke out when need be, but more generally, just try to make sure that I'm not going for anything too over aggressive, that I'm not throwing away kills or throwing away lives where they don't need to, because it is the case that Tufts Sapphire is sitting on a composition that, if they manage to get those kills early, can become a real terror and just kind of sidestep or jump over that middle game power spike that we'll be seeing from Glacial Omen broadly.
Yeah, hyper carry is going to be available for Tufts Sapphire if they can get them online, and that is, I think, that is the win condition here. Is you want to see Karma, you want to see Cardi, you want to see Softboy be able to get online quickly so that no one can go up against them, no one can combat them in a 1v1, 2v2, or even a 5v5. I want to, spoil it a little bit here. Spoil a little bit what we're going to see here in this round. Aoki Spirit is going to be the one that's piloting the Zeri in the mid lane against Cardi, and it's Swain. Entity is going to be playing as the Swain in the bot lane. Personally, I think that Swain's going to do okay up against the Jinx Karma. That wasn't going to be a super aggressive early game anyways with the Zeri Yuumi, but now he's going to have a little bit of a tougher time to be able to push out the wave. Zeri, on the other hand, I think he can bully this Victor much earlier than the Victor can, and could, I think, really have Cardi have a pretty bad day.
I do think that this swap has its pros and cons. Aoki Spirit definitely getting a lot of bully advantage and making sure that Zeri will have a pretty easy time getting their CS in priority to help out the Nocturne, especially once neutral objectives pop up. But in the bot lane now, you do have a bit of a mess regarding the advantages that Swain is able to bring to the table early. He's going to be a little bit outranged by Lost Sight and Softboy's champion choices, and with the Yuumi basically making the lane a 1v2 at least in the very early game, it'll be tough for him to continually thin out waves and ensure that he's able to just stay at parity regarding CS without being pushed in too deep and broadly taken out of the game when it comes to contesting objectives and getting priority.
Objective control, CS, it's all important here as we get ourselves into game 2 within the next 90 seconds or so. We are in the spectator delay. Glacial Omen looking to be able to finish this series out, get them a 2-0 sweep against Tufts Sapphire. Tufts Sapphire, on the other hand, looking to be able to get this to a game 3 situation. Let's find out if they're going to be able to make it happen. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. everyone, and welcome back. This is potentially the last game here today if Glacial Omen is able to pull this win out and take a 2-0 sweep against Tufts Sapphire. However, it's Tufts Sapphire that is looking to be able to take this to a Game 3 situation. Nyarko, we're not going to see, I think, any shenanigans here, level 1, but, I mean, what is the early game power that we're expecting to see out of Tufts Sapphire if they want to be able to get the snowball going?
Tufts Sapphire is going to have to utilize their range advantage in some of these lanes in order to prevent the champions like the Zeri or the Swain from really snowballing out of control. Darling Panda is going to find it a little bit difficult to hop off in order to bop and block here, especially against Lost Sight, who has Mantra Q as well as the W to CC the Yuumi. So with that in mind, can you continually poke down the Swain? Can you get them at low enough health and force Yuumi out of mana quickly in order to ensure that your lane remains relatively safe? At the same time, in that mid lane, as Victor, can you get enough pressure off of you from the power of the Zeri early in order to make sure you're at high enough health that you're able to set up for ganks, especially as we move deeper on into this laning phase? A lot to work through, a lot to think about here. As we start to see how the lanes begin to pan out in these first few moments, we do have opposite side starts for the junglers here. Kane with a classic Raptor start, allowing for Karma to get to lane early here, while we have Nocturne getting leashed by Entity and Darling Panda.
The name of the game, and I like the real expectation for me on the side of Glacial Omen, is that they do not want to go in for any engagements. They want to just try to get whatever poke that they can here in the first couple of minutes, wait until they can get level 6, and then initiate with Paranoia and the great tools that each lane has at their disposals in order to keep players in their place. Entity, though, going to get rooted by the Chompers, should be okay, just continuing to go back and forth with those trades. Remember that there is this opportunity for Glacial Omen to really close this game out once we hit the 10-12 minute mark. If they find the kills early, they can accelerate their play, get themselves into a decent level advantage and gold advantage, so that once we do get to that 10, 11, 12 minute mark, things start to become really, really difficult for Tufts Sapphire until the 25-30 minute mark when their carries come online. So I expect both these teams to just try to go in for some poke, no real major kills unless something happens that is, disastrous for one player. And that looks to be the case now. No 2-minute first bloods here in this game, Nyarko. We're at the 3:30 minute mark and no one's died just yet. Daring Panda's going to be okay, and yeah, the poking continues.
As soon as you get to the grouping stage, be that either just for a single objective or once the towers go down, Tufts is really going to have to sit back and relax, just try to not die around the 20 to 25 minute mark. And once they get past that, they're golden. I think that they got a real good shot at winning this. For the time being, we have Kane kind of sandwiching Entity here on the bot side of the map. We'll see if this leads to anything.
All right, Entity gonna get slowed, gonna get exhausted, gonna get hit by the Chompers. First blood potentially, not quite. Based in Black going to fall. It'll be first blood going over to the side of Darling Panda. Over to the side of Based in Black, but it's Darling Panda that's able to make it a 1-for-1 exchange. Airy getting used there to maybe get the kill onto Softboy, who has no health and no mana, but will be just fine. So it ends up just being a 1-for-1.
And that could have gone a little bit better for the side of Glacial Omen. They could have established a little bit more passive vision given the extent to which they were being pushed in early by dropping it into that tri-bush, which would have caught out the Kane. But I'm also a little bit confused as to why Darling Panda, after the CC was expended onto the side of Tufts Sapphire, didn't try to get their passive procced right there. That shield could have been the difference maker between Swain going down and staying alive there under the turret long enough for Based in Black to fall to the tower shots.
Well, it is still a 1-for-1. I mean, you take that though, and
Yeah,
especially
100%, 100%.
especially since it goes on to the Yumi, like it's already GG at this point for Glacial Omen. There's no way that Tough Sapphire can win, right? Like it's just impossible at this point, because Carry Yumi is just OP. And now based in black though, once again looking to be able to get a kill for Tough Sapphire, but no, the Seismic Shard is just too good in the early game. The movement speed is there, and that gank will fail. But for the time being, a little bit of gold lead for Glacial Omen. They're up by about 400 gold. And now potentially our first gank coming online for the side of Glacial Omen, as we get to see the Fear not going to proc, and that gank will also not work out.
Flame Chompers working overtime there in the bot side of the map to prevent ganks from coming through or to get some control of champions like the Swain there. I think that as much as we are joking a little bit about Carry Yumi, the fact that the kill goes onto them means that they come back to lane with a Bandle Glass Mirror already built. Meanwhile, on the other side, Karma just has to opt for that health, which means that you get a little bit of mana regen and you have the ability for the Yumi to spam abilities a bit more, keep entity topped up.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think, nicely picked there. I think, having that early Bandle Glass Mirror like you were talking about means that then, earlier Moonstone Renewer, and then that's when Yumi really starts to be online. Aoki Spirit is doing okay up against Cardi, but has to be worried about Chaos Storm. That is the next, that's the big power play right there for the Victor, is the damage that Chaos Storm is able to bring to the table, and being able to potentially use that to pick up kills. He also has first strike, so he's really looking to be able to get that extra gold, to just get that burst damage down and obliterate the health bar of Aoki Spirit or anyone that he's able to go up against. I think that that's going to be pretty important. But for the time being, though, still a fairly even game. The gold has stabilized for now. A little bit of just back and forth battling. Based in black is going to get seen by his E, and the root's going to land. Charmley does not have Paranoia yet, so that gank will not result in any kills, and we're back to the game as it was before, folks.
That defensiveness that we talked about for the side of Glacial Omen really beginning to ring true. We see the aggression. We see Tough Sapphire recognizing that they need to start to try to go for a gold lead here in order to ride out the waves that we'll be seeing in team fights. But at the same time, Entity getting that passive vision that we talked about before by dropping that ward into Tribush, catching out base in black this time around, really kind of demonstrating that both teams have a deep understanding of what their game plan is to be here as the first dragon gets out onto the map.
It is a Hextech Drake, and both teams should be wanting to go for that. It's one of the most powerful Drakes in the game. Extra attack speed, I believe, yeah, and just having the opportunity that it does provide is definitely very good. So interesting to see who's going to be able to pick that one up first. But we are reaching kind of that critical moment here within the next 90 seconds or so where Glacial Omen will have control over their own fate. They've got a pretty solid CS lead in the mid lane. They've got a CS lead in the jungle as well as the bot lane, but it's Green Melon that's falling a little bit behind gold-wise as we get the Lightning Surge getting used. Cardi looking to be able to pick up the kill, and that is a solo kill for Aoki Spirit on this Zeri, leading to Glacial Omen's second of the game.
That early Hex Drinker doing spades right there, able to get the kill and continue to snowball that lane out of control. That CS lead really starting to become a bit insurmountable for the Victor here, and the fact that Flash also was burnt in that exchange means that they're just going to be yet again more vulnerable, especially as Nocturne has now hit 6 and has that ultimate potential.
All right, Miarko, you have to explain something to me because I'm not cool like you. All right, what does it mean when somebody's taking spades?
I think that I was trying to say, I don't know. I think that I may have misused a colloquialism there, but the way that I envision it is that the Ace of Spades is the coolest card in the deck of cards, and I think that if I was dealt it, I would be very happy because it has a nice artistic design on it.
That's a little subjective. Ace of Spades, the best
It's
card
always
in
the nice
deck.
design. It's always the nicest
Oh,
design.
yeah,
Okay?
you're right. It is technically the most powerful card in the 52 card deck besides the Joker. Like no other card beats the Ace of Spades. So, okay. All right. I understand the reference. I'm just not cool like you, Niarco. I live in Vegas. I should know this. But alas, woe is me. And speaking of woe, we've got a pretty solid performance here for Charmley. As Paranoia getting used, gonna try to pick up the kill maybe onto Based in Black. He's gonna dash away, but it's Last Chapter looking to be able to get the root and lands the root onto both Lost Sight and onto Based in Black. Umbral Trespass not gonna matter, and that is the second kill for Darling Panda. As we get the needlework getting used by Green Melody, he's going to use Unstoppable Force and the Flash to get away, and that is as perfect as you can get that for Glacial Omen. They pick up the kill, and they pick up the dragon, and no one goes down.
Big plays coming through. That's the power of the engage potential we saw from Glacial Omen really coming into its own there. We saw the first ultimate coming through with Charmley being able to get some damage down, get that fear off, but then because that didn't totally work out, we then see Darling Panda come through. That's a solo kill mid. Sorry, I was just talking, and we have yet another kill going over to the side of Glacial Omen.
You do not have to apologize. That was incredible. Once again, Aoki Spirit with a solo kill on Takardi. This gold lead is just going to continue to get larger and larger, but he might have stayed a little bit too far forward here. Looking to be able to survive a 3-level advantage. Aoki Spirit will fall. Based in Black will get a nice shutdown. But man, Niarco, this Zeri is kind of popping off.
Yeah, going to be a real terror, especially now that you have a carry you me. Getting the Shirelias built early instead of the Moonstone, just to continue to add to the engage and playmaking potential of the champions on the side of Glacial Omen here. Can you imagine Zeri getting that ultimate down, going Pikachu form, and also getting that speed boost from the Shirelias late game? That is going to be incredible amounts of power and dominance coming out. So there's a lot that you have to push back against now as Tufts Sapphire. You do have that Gwen getting pretty big there on the top side of the map and building towards Rift Maker, is able to basically kind of cruise on the fact that this is a relatively easy lane against the Malphite, and therefore you have to work probably towards like a split pushing threat or something along those lines. So definitely playing up there could be valuable as time goes on.
And I appreciate Based in Black being up there. He knew that Green Melon had used Unstoppable Force. He does have it, but he will fall. He actually didn't get the knock up onto the Kane there. That was a little interesting. I thought he was going to hit it. But regardless of that, you were talking about, that is the stopgap here for Tufts Sapphire. It is the power of the Gwen, the X factor that it does provide. As Charmley trying to go in for a little counter ganking, will get caught out by Lost Sight and Softboy, looking to be able to escape, and sure will. However, will they go back into it? Will they initiate once again? Now with reinforcements, Charmley has Darling Panda on him, and they will still be able to pick up the Gromp, maybe. Yes, they will. Counter jungling coming through. But yeah, Gwen is the stopgap for Tufts Sapphire, and with that kill is in the lead by about 40 CS and by a pretty decent gold advantage as well.
Yeah, Lost Sight and Softboy would really struggle to try to contest this death ball that is beginning to form on the side of Glacial Omen. Entity and Darling Panda joined at the hip and moving together alongside Charmley with all of their ultimates up means that they have huge amounts of presence, can basically walk wherever they so please as they kind of return to gank their own lane ultimate coming out.
Uh-oh, Softboy trying to come through. We're getting double teleports from both Karma and Cardi, but it's Softboy that falls first. Entity is in trouble as a Aoki Spirit coming through as well. Didn't have to use teleport as a lightning surge comes in. Cardi now extremely low, 200 HP. Aoki Spirit will pick up that kill once again, and now the pursuit is continuing on to Lost Sight. Lost Sight is going to fall. Karma is the next target, but Karma will be able to escape. Huge play for Glacial Omen, getting 2 teleports out of Tufts Sapphire and still coming out of that play on top.
That was disastrous for the side of Tufts. They lost so much rotation pressure across the map and are also giving up huge amounts of damage to the turret bot and top side here as the fight continues on a little bit. Entity wanting more.
Karma, you are so low. You got to get out of this one, as Entity is now in trouble, going to be dying to the Umbral Trespass. Karma has needlework, but is still alive for the time being. It's now Aoki's Spirit, and maybe a little bit of an overstay here for Glacial Omen as the shutdown onto Zeri lands. Darling Panda, no! The kitty falls, and a misplay from Glacial Omen gets Tufts Sapphire back to within 2k.
Yeah, we were just talking about how that was a big disaster for Tufts Sapphire to use their teleports on the bot side only to all be wiped, but they are getting a little bit back here. There is a silver lining at the end of the day. That overstay that they kind of enticed the side of Glacial Omen into means that they're able to restore a bit of gold here and try to get some plays done across the rest of the map here. That being said, Glacial Omen use that distraction on the bot side to their advantage. They rotate over and are currently grabbing the Rift Herald as it looks like they're going to be handshaking away the dragon.
And, you know, with the idea that they want to be able to just get this game out of Tufts' control, giving up second dragon isn't really a huge issue, because if you're getting to dragon scaling, if you're getting to soul point, then the composition really hasn't worked out. Tufts Sapphire wants that dragon scaling. They want that power coming in. Cardi, though, on the wrong side of the Rift, is in trouble. Going to drop the Chaos Storm. Charmley has a lot of damage onto him. He's going to get stunned and will fall. Cardi will pick up the kill onto the Nocturne, but it will end up being a 1-for-1 trade. And there it is. Green Melon being able to pick up that kill. Based in Black will die at the bottom side of the Rift after picking up the Dragon. So it ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of Glacial Omen.
And Cardi staying for that tower on the top side of the map definitely seemed pretty risky at first, and ultimately still resulted in their death. But the fact they were able to convert a kill over onto Charmley is pretty valuable for the side of Tufts. Frankly, I think at this point in the game, a kill onto the Malphite is just far less valuable than a kill onto Cardi in the mid lane.
Yeah, wow. Cardi is, I'm sorry, not Cardi, but Lost Sight is down to about 300 HP. The poke from Entity and Darling Panda is indeed there. And as you stated earlier, Shurelya's is the play here for Darling Panda. So once again, looking to use the AoE power that Aoki Spirit and Darling Panda has to their advantage and get them into good positioning with the extra movement speed that it does provide. We're 17 minutes into the game, and it's still about a 2,000 gold lead for a Glacial Omen. They have the Rift Herald that they can drop wherever they want. But for now, they are happy with, you know, kind of farming up here a little bit, trying to be able to just get a better foothold in the game before they go in for a siege.
Yeah, most definitely. You see the formations kind of beginning to build up on either side here in regards to what each team wants to do, with that gold lead kind of beginning to close up a little bit due to some unfortunate plays on the side of Glacial Omen. They're still trying to utilize this window of strength, both in terms of gold but also the inherent power of the champions to their advantage. But at the same time, Tufts Sapphire are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel and realize that they also have good pick potential and the ability to dictate fights as the game goes on.
Well, speaking of dictating fights, this is a play here for Glacial Omen. All 5 members of their squad dedicated towards the mid lane. They're going to be able to pick up this tower using the Rift Herald and are now maybe looking to go in for a play against some of these lower health bar members, but instead decide to back off. They do get the tower out of it, and they will be able to kind of force out not the total play out of Tufts Sapphire, but they just continue to keep the pressure going in this 5v5, and there really is any response that Tufts Sapphire can go for just yet. So they're able to pick up the tower using the Rift Herald, but no other neutral objectives on the map at the moment, Nyarko. So I don't know, like, I would say that that's an okay play for Glacial Omen, but I kind of expected more.
There could have been more pulled out here, but at the same time, we are beginning to see a repetition of what happened in Game 1 that went oh so favorably for them. We get those early outer turrets down in every single lane. They did trade the one on the top side, but otherwise, the ones bot and mid are sitting pretty for them. And this just means that even though we're about a minute and a half away from the next dragon, it's going to be very difficult for Tufts to move their vision line up and try to contest this next neutral objective objective. And with that stacking beginning to really show, and Ocean Drake being the one, in Ocean Soul being the one that will come onto the map later on in the game, I think that I'm relatively happy with the ways in which Glacial Omen are getting an advantage, even if they could be pushing it a bit harder.
And Tufts Sapphire, like, they know that they're still kind of on the back burner for a little while longer. But like you said, there is that light at the end of the tunnel. Second item almost online for Softboy. He has the Zeal along with that Kraken Slayer. You've got a little bit of health denial already from Cardi picking up the Oblivion Orb. So there are signals that Based in Black and the rest of Tufts Sapphire are going to be able to weather the storm and take this to a Game 3 situation. The longer that this game goes on, the more powerful that they become. Entity is in trouble, trying to be able to get the healing in. Has a lot of healing, but not quite enough as Aoki Spirit dropping down a little bit of damage using that lightning gun, but not quite enough to deter anyone just yet. Karma's gonna flash along with Based in Black. Flash is getting used by Entity, or I'm sorry, by Aoki Spirit as well, as Aoki Spirit just continuing to rattle down the damage, looking to be able to use what he can, as they're going to be able to find the Paranoia onto Based in Black. Flash going to get used, and Aoki Spirit will pick up the kill. Karma is next. That is a double kill for the Zeri, as Lost Sight is now in trouble, but Cardi, with a nice Gravity's Well, will be able to stop the play from going any further. Ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of Glacial Omen.
Party saving the proverbial bacon on the side of, frankly, everyone from Tufts Sapphire there, with that huge stun preventing a deeper engage. That looked really good at first for the side of Tufts Sapphire. They were able to capitalize on the overextension of Entity and Darling Panda there, but the fact that Zeri was able to just stay in it and recognize that they were able to turn the momentum after that last shot of Needlework whiffed them means that they were able to translate that into a big play, a dragon, and now it looks like they're going to try to take down the Baron.
This is a pretty risky Baron play. 22 minutes in, you don't have Paranoia up for the next 15 seconds or so, so they're going to try to maybe fight for this one, but maybe they have to back off here, and yeah, they will back off, but just the fear of giving Baron over to Glacial Omen so early on, forcing all 5 members of Tufts Sapphire to the arena, will end up making the play conclude, so they will be able to back off. So just continuing to keep the pressure going here if you are Glacial Omen. And I mean, right now, Tufts Sapphire, yes, they did lose 2 kills there, but they're still relatively in this game. They're definitely happy about where they're at, because really no one on Glacial Omen has gotten so far ahead that it's going to be impossible for them to come back. Yes, Aoki Spirit is strong, but are they strong enough? We get to see the ultimate getting used by the Swing, going to be able to land the Rune of the Lost Sight. Lost Sight is going to fall to the turret shots as we get Paranoia getting used on to Based in Black. It ends up being another 2-for-1, and with the jungler down here in the Arco, Baron is on the table if they want to go for it.
And I think that if it is the case that Tufts were able to convert these into simple 1-for-1s rather than losing 2 for every kill that they get, I think that I would be pretty happy on their side. They are able to scale and are able to utilize that influx of gold really in a pretty valuable manner, but the fact that they're just losing so much presence on the map by getting 2 people taken down with those kinds of aggressive plays means that they lose a lot of influence. And as you said, even right there was a chance that they would try to go to the Baron if they so desired here. But it's just showing that power that Glacial Omen's composition has right now, as Green Mountain Melon may be a little bit caught out.
Yeah, it does have the Seismic Shard and will use Unstoppable Force to be able to escape and should be able to survive. But it does have to use Unstoppable Force, so won't have that available for a team fight for the next minute-ish or so. Now, Based in Black, we're going to be able to maybe get a kill onto Entity or Darling Panda. Instead, going to just continue to get vision and to back off. Jungle camp's getting taken. Based in Black going in once again. Entity going to be able to survive long enough as we get the exhaust getting used. Charmly going to be able to go into the Paranoia onto the back line, and Based in Black is going to fall now. Teleport getting used by Karma, but will it get any kills? No, it will not, as Entity picks that one up, and that's going to be 4 kills for Glacial Omen. teleports used, ultimates expunged, but it ends up being disaster for Tufts Sapphire, and this time I think that disaster will lead towards an easy Baron for Glacial Omen.
Things are really beginning to spiral out of control here. That fight, that 4-for-0 right there, giving Glacial Omen the Baron as well, is basically the worst possible thing that can happen to Tufts Sapphire right now. The fact that they are already pushed in a lot of these lanes in regards to the turrets being taken means that, similar to last game, you have this immediate threat on their base before any of their champions are able to fully power spike with their scaling potential. Looks like we're going to be getting a bit of contestation. Cardi knows something's going on in the area.
That did not work. That's just going to be a kill there for Aoki's Spirit, and we'll be able to use the Maul Malmortius healing, or shielding come through, but almost a steal. The rocket comes in, but it's based in black that falls. Baron gonna get smited by Charmly, and now Entity all alone up against Softboy, looking to be able to pick up a kill here, gonna be able to land the root, gonna be able to land the damage, and kaboom goes the explosive expert. Softboy will fall, and that's another 2 kills for the side of Glacial Omen. Baron picked up, Dragon going in 35, and I mean, this game, like you said, just kind of spiraled out of control so quickly against Tufts Sapphire.
Tufts Sapphire going to have to pull off something drastic to get back into this one. I think that they may be looking to just give away this next dragon that's spawning in but 15 seconds, get these waves pushed out, and mentally prepare for the onslaught that's coming their way. As soon as this neutral objective dies, they are going to be besieged on all fronts by Glacial Omen, who, with their comp being so fantastic at engaging, are just going to be looking for one toe out of line in order to jump at the opportunity for more kills and a potential early victory for the team.
And remember, Glacial Omen, they had that Baron in game 1, right? But it really didn't get anything out of it. It was the sieges afterwards that ended up giving them the kill onto the Nexus and the win. This time, however, though, they've got a really strong pushing composition, a lot of power in one of the lanes that they do decide to go for it. And even Tufts Sapphire, like, they're here. That is kind of ill-advised. I don't think that that's the right play. They're looking to be able to maybe use Paranoia, and they're able to get the kill onto Based in Black. Folks, yeah, no, you don't want to do that. If you know that you're not going to be able to take the dragon, don't even be at the dragon pit. Based in Black was way too far forward, and that results in just another easy kill for Glacial Omen.
Yeah, Based in Black maybe trying to just go for the hero play, saying wait everyone else, but now you have this 5v4 on the map, now a 3v5. Things are just all coming up in favor of Glacial Omen as we see Softboy being taken out under turret.
That is so rough there. Softboy has been punched in the gut every single time he tries to move forward. Entity landing the root with the extra slow that Darling Panda has. It's almost guaranteed that the root and the drag in are going to happen. We're going to see the inhibitor almost go down. Charmly is in trouble, going to get stunned. A lot of damage. Lightning Surge getting used. Charmly is still alive. Charmly will get shut down. Based in Black is the next target. Aoki's Spirit looking to be able to maybe get the slow, and going godlike, using the flash. Maybe not needed there as the inhibitor in the mid lane goes down, and Karma now back from the top lane to try to be able to do what they can, but Entity with all the healing in the world will be unstoppable as he picks up a kill against Softboy. Once again, a double kill as Karma now falls. Darling Panda going to be hit by 3 tower shots, but will be able to survive for the time being. Turrets are falling across the rift, and Glacial Omen is looking to finish this game strong in a 2-0 sweep.
What is it that Imagine Dragon says? Oh, the misery, everyone wants to shut down Entity. That was crazy. The amount of healing coming through, I think, really kind of exemplifies why other people besides me really hate this champion. Yuumi just kind of sitting there on the side, allowing for the Swain to just do so much damage and provide so much pressure over that fight. Almost a Nexus turret down onto the side of Glacial Omen, able to get so much out of the Baron this time around. And I think that they also have just gathered so much in the form of kills and gold that even without that buff on their champions now, they still have a great shot at just marching on into the base of Tufts Sapphire.
Yeah, it's going to take, I think, a Herculean effort for, that's the word, the word of the week, Herculean effort from Tough Sapphire to be able to bring this one back. I think that like Glacial Omen, one final push or so, and they will have this game in the bag. Minute 46 remaining until Baron spawns, and then 30 seconds after that, the Ocean Soul could be coming online. I mean, so with this win, Glacial Omen keeps their chances of getting into the playoffs alive. They'll end up being 1-4 with a 2-0 win. Tough Sapphire will still end up being winless in the Piltover division, going 0-5. And it was definitely like, I think the name, the moral of the story is macro control. There was just so much power that they were able to bring in throughout it. Throughout just controlling the Rift effectively and making sure that they were in the right places at the right time. And that results in them getting this good win here. I want to see how they're going to be able to close it out. Base in black, once again, moving a little bit too far forward, going to end up falling. Entity will go godlike. That's another kill for Aoki Spirit as they go legendary. Oh my god, the burst damage there. Entity being able to pick up a double kill along with Aoki Spirit, and that will indeed do it. The ace has concluded. The 3v4 has been secured. GGWP. It is Glacial Omen takes this win at the 31-minute mark.
And no more wall of red on the results for the side of Glacial Omen here. They are going to be picking up a clean 2-0 victory over Tufts Sapphire here, moving up, as you said, Moose, to that 1-4 bracket. Great performance by them in both of these games. They turned around a rough start in Game 1, and in Game 2, they never lagged. They never fell behind. They never felt like they were in danger.
No, and unfortunately, like, Based in Black was just way too aggressive. Like I like that's my opinion of what happened on Tough Sapphire's side. Based in Black was just going way too far forward, way too aggressive in the early and even into the mid game in both games 1 and 2. When you're the jungler, right? Like you are you're the one that has, zone control. You're the one that's kind of dictating when and where fights are happening, because when you're there, you provide that extra man that the other team won't have, or theoretically that the other team won't have. If you're going in so aggressively, and if you're initiating these fights that end up not working out for you, you end up putting your team into either a fight that they don't want to play because it's initiated poorly, or you end up dying and putting your team on the back burner because now they can't fight at these crucial neutral objectives. They're now a man down. And so while aggression is good at some points, sometimes it can end up, biting you if you're too aggressive. And I think that was the play that ended up costing Tough Sapphire this series. Granted, with that, there were other moments that were definitely pretty good. I think, the Zac game was pretty good there from Based in Black. I think that there were, a couple of opportunities that all the members of Tough Sapphire were able to bring to the table that showed that they do have skill. It just needs to be honed in a little bit more, and they need to just practice, scrim and get some more opportunities to play as a team.
I think it definitely is a combination of these two keywords that you brought up, Moose. It is macro and it is honing. I think that one of the big strengths, especially shown in Game 1 from Tough Sapphire, is that they had a pretty coherent game plan when it came to how to play out fights and how to position. It was just a matter of you had the jungler being a little bit too over aggressive, jumping in on Zac without much backup, using Elastic Slingshot. Meanwhile, on the other side, you also had a colleague going in, getting solid engages onto the backline, but not respecting the encore coming out of the Seraphine. And in Game 2, similarly, we get this overextension from the side of Based in Black, where you basically go too far forward, get early picks off onto him, and then in turn you now have this monstrous Swain popping ultimate and ghosting after your ADC and just able to bully and burst champions under tower. So a lot of stuff to work on here, but I think that they have a very clear idea of what it means to frontline, what it means to backline, what it means to go for objectives, move vision lines up, and prepare for big engages. It's just a matter of how do you refine that into truly playing out in a way that will lead to victory.
Speaking of playing out, nice segue as we move into the conclusion here of week 5, at least on stream. Glacial Omen taking the win against Tough Sapphire, going to bring their series plays up to 1-4. DGZ Arcadia also getting a 2-0 victory against Team Ambition Solstice. That's going to keep them undefeated and at the top of the leaderboards currently at 5-0 here in the Piltover division. Definitely keep a track on where and when the rest of these games conclude. You get to find out, where your favorite teams kind of lock in here as we conclude week's 5 matches. Over on the Zon division, Omega Gaming Apex taking a 2-0 victory against Imperial Gaming. That is their first loss of the series or of the season. So a major win there for Omega Gaming Apex. Congratulations to them. And on top of that, we also see the Spartan Shields being able to take a series win against Tossa Blue. That moves them up to 3-2. Tossa Blue 1-4, I believe. So with that being said, Niarco, any final thoughts?
There's a whole lot of action here in the Aegis Guardians League, but also in everything that Aegis runs in general. Look at those standings, especially on the Zon side. Imperial Gaming, Team Ambition Gambit, Omega Gaming Apex, all sitting pretty at 4-1. That is a huge fight and huge contestation decided solely on point differential for who's going to be claiming the top spot there. And even here, even in the game between two teams who were looking for their first victory, we saw incredible moments, great climaxes, and in great fights coming through. And I think that this shows the fact that you don't want to go anywhere. You want to stay here with Aegis Guardians League every single week to see how things play out.
Exactly. We are now down to the wire of the regular season. Only 2 weeks remain until we move into the play-ins. If you guys want to be kept up to date on all of the action that is going on throughout Aegis Esports, please feel free to follow their Twitch channel or follow their Twitter to find out when and where they are going live. Niarco, I know that you are playing in, or you are casting in the Aegis Protectors League. That is every Monday. But then there's also leagues that are running throughout the week. You definitely do not want to miss them. If you guys are enjoying the content that either Niarco or myself are bringing to the table, you can definitely follow us on Twitter, myself at Moosecaster or Niarco Lol for Niarco. And of course, thank you to our producer and spectator, Simulcrum, who is continuously dealing with the issues with the spectator client and trying to get us the best view of the action as possible. So thank you so much for what you're able to bring to the table. On behalf of all of the players at AGL, the coordinators, the Aegis staff, Niarco, Simulcrum, and myself, this has been the Aegis Guardians League Week 5 featured series. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you guys next week.